Welcome back to the channel. This is Trendy Storm and you're watching second and final part of What If Naruto Was Raised by Minato's Loyal Shadows. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
As she resumed her meal with a dejected expression on her face, she said, "Yay, just give him some time to cool down and he will be back to normal. I'll go talk to him in a few minutes." The others soon followed, and the young boy ran upstairs after finishing his meal inside for once. Sasuke and Sakura didn't mention Naruto, and they felt a tiny bit of respect for the young blonde after what he had told them. The remainder of the week passed without any problems. However, Hinata took the following day off to spend time at home. Despite her protests, while the others went to train every day, Naruto would leave clones at the house in case something happened, and the teams took turns protecting Tazuna and training before he left with Kurenai and the others on the day Zabuza was expected to return. Kakashi instructed Haku and Naruto to wait at the house and come a little later. After practicing basic footwork and kenjutsu techniques in the backyard for several hours, Naruto and Haku heard a scream coming from inside. When they hurried inside, they discovered that Tazuna's daughter and the young boy from a few days prior were being held by two samurai, who were attempting to free her. Naruto drew foxfire and began to approach the two samurai, saying, "You know, it's not nice to try and force such a pretty lady to go with you when clearly she doesn't want to." Flames soon began dancing along the blade after a small amount of fire chakra was channeled into it, giving it a faintly red glow. As one of the men raised his sword to her neck and yelled, "Stop right there, I'll kill her," the young blonde in front of them vanished. Before giving the samurai a forceful chop to the back of his neck, which rendered him unconscious, Naruto whispered in his ear, "Too late." He swiftly grabbed Tazuna's daughter, vanished, then resurfaced next to Haku, gently placing her on the ground. Naruto turned to face the other samurai, his icy blue eyes meeting the terrified hazel ones, and said, "Now, what to do with you?" The man assumed an aggressive stance and yelled, "You're just a little kid. I won't fall for the same trick this idiot did." Naruto charged the man, cutting the distance in a matter of seconds before kicking him in the stomach and sending him flying through the door. "Good, that means I'm going to enjoy this. I only need one of you alive anyways," as he reapplied just enough chakra to his sword to make it red hot. Naruto strolled out. Naruto screamed as he ran the tip of his blade up the man's bare shin, leaving a long, thin burn in his wake. "Now, you're going to tell me exactly what I want to know, or I'll force it out of you." "Go to hell," he uttered, his teeth crunched. Naruto trailed off, holding the flat end of his blade over the man's cheek, causing him to scream once more. "I'm already on my way there, but if you cooperate, I'll be sure to make your ride quick and painless, and if not, well," he said. The young boy's mother immediately covered his eyes and turned away when the rest of them saw that picture as they left the house. "I'm only going to say this once, this is not how Naruto normally is, but he hates people like Gato who would use you to get to your grandfather. I have only ever seen him this way a few other times, and he doesn't enjoy it. Please don't think anything of him. He is doing this to keep you and your family safe," Haku said as she observed Naruto at work. The man was prepared to speak after a few excruciating screams. Gato sent us here to get the woman. He wanted to kill her in front of the bridge builder to make him regret building the bridge. Your little friends should already be dead. Zabuza and the demon brothers were sent to the bridge ahead to kill everyone, but Gato has other plans. He is going to kill all three of them after the fight when they are weakened. The man replied, "Now let me go like you said you would, you little shit." Naruto's words caused the man's eyes and Tazuna's daughter's eyes to widen. My, I don't think we have to worry about Zabuza. After all, they're working for me." And with a swift slash of his sword, he severed the man's head from his body. "And when did I say I would let you live? If I remember correctly, I said I would make your trip to hell less painful?" As Naruto cleaned the blood off his blade, he said, "Haku, tie the other one up and gag him in case he wakes up. Then we are going to the bridge to kill Gato." The young woman said, "You don't like killing, do you? I can see the remorse in your eyes. Life is not something someone should take without good reason, and while I had a perfectly good reason to kill that man, I never enjoy killing. The fact that I don't enjoy it is the only thing that keeps me human, and not some blood-crazed killer," said Naruto. Naruto looked at the young boy and smiled softly, saying, "You should be proud of him, you know. He tried to protect you even when there was no way he could. That makes him all right in my books." As she left the house, Haku said, "Okay, Naruto, I tied him up and left him in the backyard. We can talk to him when we get back." As Naruto turned to go, Haku turned back and smiled softly at Tazuna's daughter. "No, there is no need. I already got everything we need. The demon brothers have a map to Gato's hideout, remember? And we already know Gato is planning to betray Zabuza-sensei, so things should be easy from here on out." When Naruto and Haku arrived, Kiba, Hinata, Sakura, and Sasuke were occupied with the demon brothers, while Kakashi and Kurenai were engaged in combat with Zabuza. Kiba screamed at Naruto and Haku as he saw them slowly climbing onto the bride. "Hey losers! We could use some help here. Hurry the fuck up!" he shouted, stopping the battle between Zabuza and the demon brothers upon seeing Naruto. After saying, well, little Naruto has come back for more yH. Zabuza noticed Naruto's grave expression and started to question what was going on. Zabuza raised his eyebrows as Naruto said, "Zabuza-sensei, Gozu, Maizu, stand down, there has been a change of plans." The demon brothers then knelt on one knee. Gozu said, "Naruto-sama, what is wrong? Gato sent a couple of samurai to Tazuna's house to capture Tazuna's daughter this morning. He was planning on killing her in front of you to make you regret building the bridge." After a little, Naruto said, pausing to find the right words so the others wouldn't know what he did, "Persuasion. I got the man to talk. Gato was planning on killing the three of you after you fought Kakashi, Kurenai, and the rest of teams 8 and 7. This caused Zabuza to growl lowly. As he began to charge Naruto, Kiba screamed, "Naruto, you traitor! You know we're with these guys all along." But Kurenai stopped him. Kiba asked, perplexed as to why her sensei would prevent him from murdering a traitor, Kurenai sensei. She glanced at the other members of her team, attempting to gauge their responses, and said softly, "Let him talk, Kiba. There is more to this story than you know." Naruto said, "Thank you, Kurenai." Naruto looked at Kurenai and Kakashi and remarked, "Now then, dog breath. Yes, I know these three. Zabuza is part of the group that trained me. The Hokage gave us all a special mission that only few know about. Due to his past as a missing nin, we sent Zabuza to infiltrate Gato's company in hopes of finding information pertaining to our mission. While he didn't find anything, he did find that Gato had plans of killing Tazuna on his way back from Konoha, so he sent me a letter and I personally requested our two teams be sent on this mission. My team for the obvious reason that Haku and I are friends with Zabuza and these two." Naruto paused and pointed at the demon brothers, "And your team because I thought it would be good practice for you, as you are supposed to be a tracking team. And I have to admit the only one who proved capable was Hinata, sorry Shino, because she noticed the genjutsu that the demon brothers used on our way here. If you hadn't been busy trying to flirt with Hinata-chan and give others orders, you would have easily been able to smell them. Even I could. No offense," Naruto said, looking at the demon brothers who had small tick marks on their foreheads. Hinata, pleased that Naruto was proud of her but a little miffed that he hadn't told her while his team appeared to know, said, "So Naruto-kun. This was more of a test?" Getting a nod from both and a small grin from Zabuza, Naruto remarked, "Sort of, Hinata-chan. For this mission to work properly, Zabuza had to act like he wanted to really kill Tazuna, and had to fight seriously against us too, as I'm sure you realized, Kakashi, as well as Kurenai." Growing increasingly irate with Naruto for placing himself in that situation, Hinata questioned, "If Zabuza is why your friend, then why did he hurt you so be bad?" "Meh. We had to make it believable. If we didn't, I'm sure you and Shino would have figured out something was going on. And like I told you before, it would take a lot more than that to keep me down, Hinata-chan." Naruto sighed. As he approached Naruto, Zabuza said, "Maybe I'll aim to slice a little deeper if you keep being so arrogant, brat." The other rookies were a little uneasy because they still didn't fully trust him. He smirked as he punched Naruto in the arm and remarked, "We need another spare like that sometime. You were almost able to beat me, brat, just a little longer. That's for stabbing me, you bastard. You could have just cut me like I did to you." Naruto rubbed his now excruciating arm and said, "Sorry, geez, don't hold a fucking grudge, Zabuza-sensei." After receiving a brief glare from both Haku and Hinata, Zabuza responded with a smirk, "Easy there, brat. You may be my leader, but I can still beat the shit out of you." Observing Hinata, he chose to continue making fun of Naruto. He pointed to Hinata and said, "Looks like you bagged another girlfriend, Naruto?" Which caused Kiba to scream and the girl to turn deep red. With a smirk of his own, Naruto remarked, "You jealous, Zabuza-sensei? You haven't gotten any action since you lost your eyebrows?" Haku and Kakashi burst out laughing, while everyone else just gaped at Naruto's easygoing demeanor. With a tick mark appearing on his forehead, Zabuza uttered, "Shut it, brat, we promised never to talk about that." Naruto was serious once more as he said, "Sorry, I guess I forgot. Anyway, according to the samurai, Gato should be getting here shortly." Just as expected, a large group of samurai followed by a short, fat man clapping emerged from the mist. Well, looks like the demon of the bloody mist has been reduced to working for a young brat," the corpulent man replied. As he, Maizu, and Gozu moved in front of the group, followed by Haku and Naruto, Zabuza remarked, Watch how you talk about him, Gato. I won't allow for anyone to disrespect him. He may be young, but he is talented as a ninja and a great leader. Naruto gestured to the other genin and said, Kakashi-sensei, let us handle this. I don't think any of them are ready to kill yet. Unsheathing Dragon's Bane and Foxfire, Naruto remarked, and Hinata-chan, I'm not going to enjoy this. When Zabuza charged at Gato's men, he shouted, whoever kills the least buys the sake tonight. Zabuza's attitude made Naruto snicker, but he quickly followed. Even Kakashi and Kurenai paled in comparison to what Naruto and Haku were capable of during the next few minutes, which could only be described as a total massacre. They appeared to be simply dancing through the samurai, leaving a trail of blood and mutilated bodies in their wake. Shino remained unflappable, but if you looked closely, you could see that even he was paler than normal. Sakura, Hinata, Kiba, and even Sasuke felt their food coming back up as they watched their teammates get away with it. Naruto wiped the blood from his blades and put them back in their sheath, saying, Hey, I think you are getting slow in your old age, Zabuza-sensei. Zabuza smirked and remarked, you just got lucky, brat, but it looks like Gozu is buying the sake tonight. Gozu said, fuck you, Zabuza. Both Zabuza and Naruto laughed. Zabuza approached Gato and asked, now, what should we do with this fat swine? The man turned pale as he saw the blood-covered man approach him. We leave him for the villagers, they suffered the most. They should be the ones to decide his fate, said Naruto. He gave Gato to Zabuza to take back to the village after knocking him unconscious. I'm sorry you all had to see that, but this is what comes with being a shinobi. If you aren't ready for it right now, that's fine. I wouldn't expect anyone, other than maybe Zabuza, to be able to kill fresh out of the academy, Naruto replied. Zabuza smirked and said, better watch it, brat. Remember what I said earlier, although I do agree with you, none of these kids are ready for the real world yet. They didn't go through the same training I did. Kurenai nodded her head in agreement as Kakashi said, and for good reason too. The other genin watched in perplexity. Sakura inquired, what do you mean, Kakashi-sensei? Kiri prided itself on having strong shinobi, so during the academy they would pair two kids up and have them train together, become friends, and even establish relationships on rare occasion. Kakashi explained. Turning the other genin pale, they were undoubtedly glad they weren't a part of Kiri. Their graduation test was a fight to the death between the two people who had been paired together. Remembering his graduation test, Zabuza smiled illly and said, well, that was the test until I came along. Kiba asked, what do you mean? This time, although the rest of them were undoubtedly relieved not to have been a part of Kiri, Zabuza claimed, I murdered my entire academy class, teachers and all. That's the reason I got my nickname, the Demon of the Bloody Mist. After that year they turned to more conventional ways of testing kids to become genin. It's a shame, really. Sakura babbled, why, you're an monster. Maybe, but it's more fun than being human. You're all just lucky I've mellowed out a lot, Zabuza responded. You call that shit mellow? Kiba pointed to the corpses strewn all over the bridge and asked incredulously. Hey, most of that was Naruto and Haku. If it were me there would be a lot more blood now. As much as I like talking to all of you, I would prefer to go back to the village and rest. It's been a long fucking day, Zabuza replied. When Kiba looked back over the bridge and saw that the majority of the bodies were either charred and burned or covered in ice, he silently noted that he should not annoy Naruto or Haku. After a week, until the bridge was completed, Zabuza, the Demon Brothers, and Teams 7 and 8 had remained in Wave. In order to leave a small gift for the Wave people, Naruto, Haku, and Zabuza had discovered Gato's treasury during their stay and sealed away all of the money. Though they couldn't believe that someone so young could cause as much death as they had witnessed a week earlier, the other genin were still a little tired of Naruto and Haku. They kept thinking about what Naruto had said at the end of everything, and they asked themselves repeatedly throughout the week if they were prepared to live that kind of life. The majority of Naruto's time was spent with Zabuza and Haku, but occasionally Hinata would come visit him. They would chat for hours while exploring the village and even seeing a few sunsets together, not because they were embarrassed, but because relationships are uncommon among shinobi. Naruto and Haku had kept their relationship a secret from the others. Nevertheless, they both assumed Hinata was aware of it and asked her to keep it a secret. It was now the day they were to depart. The bridge had been constructed the day before, and Wave had celebrated last night by honoring the bridge and those who helped make it possible for it to be completed. As the Konoha shinobi vanished into the distance, a random villager asked, what are we going to name the bridge? The rest of the crowd cheered as Tazuna said, good question, how about the Bride of Fire and Ice, in memory of the two who decided to help us even though they knew the original mission was a lie. The old man jumped a little when a clone of Naruto appeared next to Tazuna, just as the cheering had stopped. The clone said, hey old man, this is from the boss, just rub a little of your blood over the marking on the bottom of the scroll." Before vanishing in a cloud of smoke, Tizuna wasted no time in unrolling the scroll and cutting his finger. He was shocked to discover that 4 large coffers had materialized out of thin air, and he opened the first one and gasped when he saw that it was full of gold with a note from Naruto that read, "Happy rebuilding, old man. Wave Country would never forget the young blonde's generosity." Naruto informed the Hokage of the information he had received from Kyuubi a few months after the team's combined mission to Wave Country. He also made sure to tell the other Chunin and Junin to increase their training, as well as the team's senseis to begin more advanced training for their genin. Once again, we find a rather irate Team 7 inside the Hokage's office. "What do you mean Naruto Baka and Haku Baka are already Chunin? What about Sasuke-kun?" Sakura yelled. Both Naruto and Haku gave Sasuke a slight blush and glare when he said, "Yay, why have the Dobi and his little girlfriend already gotten promotions when I, an elite Uchiha, am still a genin?" Naruto remarked, "She isn't my girlfriend Teme, at least not yet," he thought, glancing sideways at Haku, who had a somewhat distressed look on her face. Although Naruto detested saying such a thing in front of her, it was true that he hadn't quite had the guts to ask her out despite their several more dates. But then he smiled and thought again. Sasuke tried to elicit a response from Naruto by saying, "Whatever Dobi, maybe I should just have her given to me by the council. They have already tried Teme. For one, she is under my clan's protection, so she can't be forced into anything she doesn't want, and two, I believe she already has someone she likes, and I wouldn't let anything get in the way of her happiness," Naruto said, causing Haku to grin at what implied. "As much as I would love to hear your witless banter, you two, we have things that we need to discuss." For one, Naruto and Haku have both been graded and tested on their skill level, and while they are at a higher level of skill than all other Chunin, they lack field experience, which is why they were put onto a genin team, and from the reports I received about your mission from Wave, Naruto had performed perfectly when given the chance to lead. Sasuke, while you are very talented for a genin, you lack the attitude worthy of higher rank. You're rude, arrogant, and brash. 2 of those are traits that will most likely wind up in your death. The Hokage, and everyone else in Kakashi, although you couldn't see it because of his masks and a glare from. Now then, the reason that I called you here Team 7 is because the Chunin exams are coming up, and with the fact that Naruto and Haku are already at the level of Chunin, you need a new team member, Hiruzen replied. "What? Why?" replied Sakura, "if Naruto Baka and Haku Baka are already Chunin, me and Sasuke should be able to beat the test easily." Although they didn't actually have a test, the Hokage half lied and said that Sasuke and Sakura would never receive the same recommendation from Itachi and Zabuza as Naruto and Haku. Naruto-kun and Haku-kun have been getting trained by A and S rank ninjas for the past 6 years. I do not think you would be able to pass the test we gave them. I can assure you it is way harder than the normal Chunin exam. Sakura felt a little deflated because she believed that this was her chance to show Sasuke how valuable she was. But the Hokage shot her down. Sasuke, on the other hand, did not take the news as well as Sakura did. "Why did they get special training when I didn't? I'm the last Uchiha, and the fact that these 2 have been trained by my brother should be enough to prove they cannot be trusted," Sasuke barked. "There are more things surrounding what happened with Itachi-sensei than you need to know, Sasuke Teme. You should not concern yourself with matters way above your rank." On the inside, Naruto was furious because, aside from the Hokage and the father-daughter duo at Ichihara's Ramen, Itachi was one of the first people he had ever thought of as special. He even went so far as to call him a brother, and the fact that Sasuke would poke fun at his brother whenever he could made Naruto furious. Kakashi, who was clearly just as tired of Sasuke's behavior as the majority of people, yelled, "That's enough, Sasuke. One more outburst like that and I will keep you out of the Chunin exams for this year. As your sensei, I have the final word on if you are allowed to enter or not." Though Sasuke and Sakura believed the Hokage was complimenting him, Hiruzen said, "Thank you. Kakashi, now, your teammate, Sai, has already been chosen for you. He will be training with you starting tomorrow to get a feel for how you two work. I hope to see a good showing from your team, Kakashi. After all, the last Uchiha is on it." "Hi, Hokage-sama," exclaimed Kakashi. "Now then, you 3 are dismissed. Naruto, Haku, I need to talk to you separately, please stay." The Hokage said. Sakura and Sasuke didn't quarrel or argue for once, but when he looked up from his desk, he noticed that Kakashi had taken them away before they could. The old Hokage smirked and thought, "Brownie points for Kakashi. It looks like Asuma will have to do the next Tora mission." "Now, you two, I want to discuss what you will be doing in the Chunin exams," the elderly man began, but a young boy rushed in before he could finish. "Ha! Today is the day I beat you and take the title of Hokage, old man. A brown-haired boy with a wooden kunai hurried the Hokage while wearing a blue scarf around his neck. The young boy only managed to go a few feet before tripping over his own scarf, dropping face food on the ground, and sliding a few feet before stopping, much to the amusement of Naruto and Haku. The young boy looked up from his spot on the floor, grinning, as Naruto teased, "Hey, this is your fourth attempt this week, honorable grandson." Naruto grinned as Haku and the Hokage perspired. "Just what I would expect from my rival, tripping me like the very first time we met, but it won't always work, Naruto," the young boy cried. "Hey, just like that day, you tripped over your own scarf, Konohamaru. It had nothing to do with me," Naruto responded. "How about we play ninja later? Me and Haku-chan have something to talk about with the old man. I'll find you when we are done." Konohamaru brushed himself off and hurried out the door, forgetting all about Hiruzen. "Okay, but don't take too long, the future Hokage doesn't like to wait," he yelled. Right. Anyways, Naruto, as I was saying, I need to talk to you too about the Chunin exams. I have a few things I would like the both of you to do," the Hokage replied. Naruto questioned, "What might those be, old man?" Both Chunins nodded when the Hokage stated, "Well, the first test is an information gathering test. The proctor is Ibiki. I'm sure you both know him. Ibiki is well known for his prowess in interrogation. It's a written test that is made up of questions too hard for any regular genin to answer. So we will be having a few Chunin disguise themselves as genin and take the test so that there are a few people to cheat off of." Even though she was already a Chunin, Haku didn't particularly enjoy having to complete a portion of the test, but she wouldn't argue with the Hokage over something so trivial. "Alright, that sounds fine. Where do I have to be and at what time?" she asked. Hiruzen said, "Be at the academy at 9 a.m. in 2 days. "Hi, Hokage-sama. Now, Naruto, I want you to help with part 2 of the exam. It's being created by one of Ibiki's subordinates. Her name is Anko Madarashi. She is also known as the Snake Mistress because she was the former student of my old student Orochimaru. I know who she is, and although she can be rather bloodthirsty, sometimes I can tell that often she feels like how I used to. I've been meaning to talk to her for a while now. I might be able to take care of her curse seal for good if I could get a good look at it," Naruto clarified. "Just let me know what you want me to do and I'll do it." "Alright. Well, I want you to find Anko. She will most likely be at the interrogation unit HQ, or at her favorite dango shop located on the other side of Konoha, and help her create the test. She will give you more details when you find her." Naruto got up and asked, "Hi, is that all, old man?" The Hokage watched Naruto and Haku go, saying, "Hi, Naruto, Haku, that's all for now, thank you for helping." After a half-hour dango shop shortly after leaving the Hokage's office, Naruto left Haku, claiming that he needed to locate Anko but that he would make sure to visit her later. Naruto had crossed Konoha to the dango shop after checking the interrogation department and discovering that Anko had already left. He was now searching for someone who fit Anko's description. Naruto exclaimed in frustration, "Gah! How hard could it be to find someone with bright purple hair?" Behind him, a woman said, "Purple hair, are you looking for me, brat?" Naruto turned around and saw what he believed to be the most revealing shinobi outfit ever. A fishnet shirt underneath a tan trench coat that was unbuttoned and barely contained her attractive bust, and a very short skirt that was so short that Naruto knew it must be against the law to expose someone indecently, or, in this case, very decently. Without thinking, Naruto questioned, "Are you Anko?" "The one and only cutie. Now what did you want from me?" replied Anko. Still struggling to keep his eyes off the stunning young woman in front of him, Naruto said, "Well, my name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. The Hokage asked me to help you create the second test for the Chunin exams and told me I could find you here, so here I am." "Ah, so you're the Namikaze brat that everyone else has been talking about. Guess you do look a little like your father, and from what I've heard you act a lot like your mother," Anko responded. Naruto inquired, "Did you know my parents, personally?" "No, but everyone knows who the Yellow Flash is, as well as your mother, the red hot-blooded habanero, the only kunoichi that has ever rivaled Lady Tsunade in strength. Your parents are quite the legend, kid," Anko replied. "I see. Other than Kakashi-sensei, it's hard to find people who personally knew my parents, but we can talk about that later. I know who you were and who your old master was, and with your permission, after the Chunin exams are over, I would like to take a look at your curse seal. From what I have heard, it was still in its developmental stage when Orochimaru put it on you. I may be able to break it down to basic seals and figure out a way to take it off," Naruto clarified, causing Anko to gasp. Anko asked a little shakily, "CC, could you really take it off?" She had heard others say that they could take it off in the past, but their main goal was to have sex with the Snake Mistress of Konoha. Naruto took a seat across from Anko, who simply nodded stupidly. the thought of losing her curse seal still fresh in her mind. I'm not sure, like I said I want to take a look at it to figure out if I can or not. You and I are a lot alike, Anko. Being stuck with things that we have no control over and being considered an outcast for them, I would like nothing more than to be able to help you live a normal life. But please, let's discuss the Chunin exams for right now. What exactly do you have planned so far? Oh well, really all I know right now is that it's going to be in the Forest of Death. There will be close to 40 teams this year, so I'm hoping that Ibiki's test will be hard enough to lower that number to around 20 to 25. Then I should be able to cut that number in half. But if only a couple teams fail the first test, if my test isn't good enough, there will be too many participants for the third round. Anko clarified, receiving a nod from Naruto. How about this? We have two options set up, each based on how many people pass the first exam, said Naruto. Anko smirked and said, you know, that actually isn't a bad idea, brat. What exactly did you have in mind? Anko's smirk widened as Naruto said, I have a name, you know, adding a checkmark. But I was thinking if we have a lower level of people pass the test, we split 2 stacks of scrolls between the remaining teams, and for a team to pass they each have to have one of each scroll. That would effectively cut the number by at least halfway. Naruto nodded, acknowledging that it was a good idea for a test with fewer competitors. Now then, if there are a lot of teams that pass the test, we will have a limited amount of scrolls spread out around the forest. To pass the test they need to find the scrolls and make their way to the tower. Each scroll will be guarded by traps and spread throughout the entirety of the Forest of Death. That way we can limit the number of teams that pass to a specific number. It will also test the team's skill at getting in and out of places that are layered with traps while holding valuable information. Very good idea, brat. I personally like the second one better. I hope there are a lot of teams that pass. When will we have a chance to set the scrolls and traps up though? That would take a lot longer than 2 days to do, asked Anko. I already have some shadow clones doing it. The traps and scrolls will be set up and just need to be activated. I will make more clones the morning of the exam and make them go to where the traps are. If we need to I will activate them, if not then we will just hand out scrolls and I will get the clones to disarm the traps, Naruto clarified. Your plan, for lack of a better term, is amazing. For someone at such a young age to be able to think out a test like this and have an ulterior reason behind it is amazing, and I hardly ever give out compliments, said Anko. Naruto pulled out a piece of paper and ink and began writing on it. Hey, thanks, I guess. I should get going though. I promised someone that I would meet them soon, so if you need me come find me at my compound. I'll write down the directions for you. Naruto grinned as he got up and walked away, leaving Anko to ponder her own thoughts. I probably won't be home for another few hours, but if you need me for anything regarding the test or your curse mark, just come find me. Kyo-chan was correct. This young man will make a good catch when he's older. Perhaps I should try to get to know him better. Unfortunately, the CRA is a bummer, and I'm not the type to share. After 10 minutes, Naruto was currently searching for Konohamaru. Although he thought that playing ninja was something that only young children should do, he and Konohamaru had bonded quickly after their first meeting a few months earlier, and he now saw the young Sarutobi more as a little brother than a rival, even though he would never admit it. Whether it was simply playing with him or helping him train to get stronger, Naruto made it his personal goal to watch out for and support Konohamaru in any way he could. He loved spending time with him. He decided to investigate after hearing a small commotion around the corner. When he turned the corner, he saw that Team 7 was there, along with Konohamaru's friends Udon and Moegi. Konohamaru was being held up by a tall boy in all black, and he could tell by the headband that it was a Suna headband. Naruto made his presence known by saying, "Hey, Suna Shinobi, what do you think you are doing attacking the Hokage's grandson like that?" He then noticed the girl behind the taller boy, who had the spiky blonde pigtails that he would recognize from anywhere. Naruto questioned, "Tamari? Is that you?" What she had heard about Hokage's grandson caused the blonde girl to turn around with a look of shock and a hint of fear. "And Naruto? Is that you? It's been years?" Tamari responded. "Wait, where is Haku?" Ignoring Konohamaru and the other onlookers, Naruto explained, "Hey, yay, it has been. How is Gaara since Ero Sennin fixed the seal? And Haku is back at my compound. You guys should come stay with me or at least visit while you are here. Oh, Kankuro. You might want to put him down. He is basically my little brother and he is the Hokage's grandson," Naruto continued, causing Konohamaru to smile broadly at being referred to as Naruto's brother and making Kankuro go a little pale. Naruto grinned as a voice that seemed to reverberate from everywhere around them said, "Kankuro, put him down. You are embarrassing Suna." According to Naruto, he said, "All right, number 1, get your sandy ass down here." Sasuke smirked as he sat in the trees above, believing Naruto was referring to him. A ball of sand flew into Sasuke's mouth as he began, "So, Dobi, finally realize HMPH. His eyes widened as he realized that someone else was above him. How the fuck is Naruto so much stronger than me? I didn't even sense him. Sasuke pondered. Everyone there, with the exception of Temari and Kankuro, wondered if they were going to fight when the young red-haired boy behind Sasuke appeared to vanish in a whirlpool of sand and then reappeared between Naruto and Temari, engaging in a stare-down with the blonde Jinchuriki. After staring at each other for about a minute, they both smiled broadly and shook hands, causing everyone to sigh in silence. Naruto asked, perplexing the Konoha shinobi in attendance, "So Gaara, how have you been since Ero Sennin fixed the seal for number 1? The two other Suna shinobi merely smiled warmly. As Gaara said, "It's good to see you again, Uzumaki, and he has been quite since the seal was fixed." Naruto scowled a little, and Gaara gave him a curious glance. "I thought that was a good thing. What is the look for, Uzumaki?" "Gaara, we have been friends for years. Please just call me Naruto, since everyone else has figured out I am the son of the 4th Hokage. It's Naruto-sama, this Naruto-sama that. It's so fucking annoying," Naruto said, which caused Temari to giggle. Gaara grinned a little and said, "Perhaps, Uzumaki, Naruto ticked off something." Gaara's smirk widened a little when Naruto remarked, "Your sense of humor is really shitty, Gaara. I hope you know that." Sakura's question, "Ahem. Would someone mind explaining what the fuck is going on? How do you know these foreigners, Naruto?" caused Naruto to return his focus from his reunion to the Konohamaru Corps and Team 7. "Hey, yay, I guess. During my travels I spent a couple months training under Jiraiya of the Sannin, my father's sensei, and we came to Suna. There are a few things that I can't tell you, but Gaara had a seal that needed to be fixed and we fixed it. Gaara's father, being the Kazekage, invited us to stay for a few days. We spent a lot of time together seemingly as we were all kids. These three are siblings. Gaara is the youngest while Temari is the oldest and prettiest flower in the desert," Naruto said with a smirk, making Temari smirk. Kankuro began, "You know, Naruto, she has had the big act," but was interrupted when Temari's fan made a nice impression on the back of his head. As he began to leave, Naruto remarked, "Well, this was fun and all, but I should get back home. Haku-chan is waiting for me." Before vanishing in Shunshin, he said, "Oh, and Temari-chan, maybe we should go out for dinner while you are here. We can talk about that big crush you have on me." He left behind a very red Temari, a smirking Kankuro, despite the fact that his face was still an inch in the ground, and, surprisingly, Gaara. A semi-blissful Temari was left behind when Gaara vanished in the Shunshin, saying, "You know, Temari, I think he would be perfect for you, but I think you will have to fight for him. I'm bringing the fight to you, Haku, so you better be ready because Gaara has never approved of a boy before. Why couldn't you save us, and Naruto-kun? I thought you loved us. Naruto, why couldn't you save us the way you did when we were young?" Naruto sat up and screamed, "Haku-chan! Hinata-chan!" As icy sweat trickled down his face, he turned to look around and saw that he was in his home study, with the scroll he had been working on late the night before resting where his head had just been. Haku-chan. What the fuck was that? It felt so real, Naruto thought, recalling his nightmare. Women, children, and these people, no, these creatures did not deserve to be called people, were all over Konoha, which was a heap of flaming ruins with bodies all over the place. In the background, Naruto could see his friends engaged in combat, Itachi and Zabuza facing each other as they attempted to halt the seemingly unending stream of creatures. However, Naruto could see that they were gradually being overrun. It was only a matter of time. Naruto could see the outline of Kakashi and Jiraiya fighting together. When he turned to his left, they were holding themselves together a bit better than Zabuza and Itachi, but it was only a matter of time. As he dispatched another leaf shinobi, a cloaked figure in a white and red porcelain mask calmly said, "Look around you, boy. Your village is in ruin, your friends are dead, or will soon be. Everyone you have ever cared about will be lost forever because you didn't have the power to overcome the darkness. Watch the trailer for Darksiders 2. As he approached a defeated Haku and Hinata, he remarked, "If only you had been stronger, faster, smarter, your friends wouldn't have to suffer for your faults." As Naruto ran at the cloaked figure, he screamed, "Don't touch them. Your fight is with me," but was stopped when two more people approached from behind, grabbed his arms, and pinned him to the ground. With his other hand slowly drawing out a kunai, the figure said, "Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. This is what happens to your loved ones when you are not strong enough to protect them. Remember this well." He then grabbed a fistful of Haku's hair and roughly lifted her off the ground, never taking his eyes off Naruto. Bringing the blade to Haku's neck, he screamed, "Remember this well, boy." Even though it had only been a dream, Naruto shuddered when he thought back to what he had seen. He had never wanted to see someone he loved suffer harm, or in this case, be killed. After a long night of sleeping in an uncomfortable position, Naruto slowly got up from his seat, his bones popping and cracking. He saw the first rays of the sun peeking over the Konoha trees. As he made his way to the window, he decided it would be the ideal morning to see a sunset, and he needed some fresh air to help him think. He started to head for the main door, but he was stopped by a voice he recognized and was delighted to hear. As she emerged from the restroom, already dressed for her day of assisting with the Chunin exams, Haku questioned, "Naruto-kun, what are you doing up this early? You don't have to help out with the exam until later?" Naruto lied in the hopes that Haku would believe him, saying, "Couldn't sleep, Haku-chan. That's all. However, you don't spend years with someone and not be able to spot their lies. Don't give me that, Naruto-kun. I know something is bugging you. Please tell me. Let me be there for you like you have always been for me." Haku smiled broadly. "Naruto, please save us, just as you did when we were young. Why? Naruto-kun." Naruto began to move again, but was stopped by Haku's hand on his shoulder. "It was only a nightmare, Haku-chan. I just need some fresh air to help me clear my head." "Naruto, you are not alone anymore. You don't always have to do things by yourself. You have me, the Sandame, Hinata, Ayame, and Tucci, and you can always talk to me when something is wrong." She replied. She took his hand and hurried outside before he could object, saying, "And besides, what did I tell you about not inviting me to catch a sunset? Let's hurry before we miss it." Haku rolled her eyes and giggled at Naruto as he sat down and rubbed his once again sore shoulder, saying, "Haku-chan, not so fast, you're going to tear my arm off." "Geez." The two teenagers were captivated by the stunning display of oranges, reds, yellows, and pinks that the sky painted before she turned to face the horizon. Naruto turned to face the horizon and remarked, "You know, this sunset is the second most beautiful thing I have seen today." "Oh yeah? And what would the first thing be, Naruto?" Haku responded. Naruto's response, "Second only to my ice queen, Haku-chan," caused Haku to blush in a way that even Hinata would be pleased with. Haku giggled a little and said, My Naruto, aren't you just a charmer this morning?" Naruto shook his shoulders and said, "I guess, it's just that the dream I had this morning made me open my eyes to a few things I don't want to miss out on. Back in Wave on the Roof, when we joked about me asking to be your girlfriend, I really did want to ask, I just couldn't find the courage. But after this morning I realized that in our line of work life is too short to not cherish the little things in life. Haku-chan, I want to ask you properly, would you like to go out with me?" Naruto asked, causing Haku's eyes to widen. Felt her lungs empty out. She sat there staring into space with a blank expression on her face as her brain tried to reset. Her silence was initially interpreted by Naruto as a no, but after a moment, her mind began to work again and she understood what he had asked. Yes. 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 I'd love to, Naruto-kun, exclaimed Haku, displaying her extremely uncommon fangirl side as she leapt for joy. With some hesitation, Haku questioned, "Wait, when you say things this morning made you realize something, were you talking about the nightmare you had?" When he heard her question, Naruto's smile wavered a little. "Yay, I guess it was," he said, and then he told her about his nightmare, which included seeing Konoha in ruins, all of his friends dead or dying, and, worst of all, seeing her die. As his dream's events replayed in his mind, Naruto choked out, "I couldn't do anything to stop it. I was too weak. I couldn't do anything to save you. I watched you die, Haku-chan. I never want to see that again." Naruto was shocked to see a range of emotions on Haku's face when he looked up, including fear, pity, sadness, and, most unexpected of all, disappointment. Haku's sweet voice made Naruto shudder a little as she said, "Naruto-kun." She only ever used that tone when she was ready to rip him a new one. She said calmly, but Naruto could tell she was dangerously close to freezing parts of his body that should never be exposed to such cold temperatures. "I can't believe you were going to keep that from me, Naruto. After everything we have been through together, you need to talk about these kinds of things, Naruto. Bottling stuff like that up isn't good for you. What if something bad happened during the Chunin exams today and your mind wasn't in the right place? You could be hurt or even killed. Then what? How do you think we would feel? Me, Hinata, Itachi-sensei, Zabuza-san, Hokage-sama, how do you think all of us would feel?" she said quietly. Despite his best efforts to defuse the situation, Naruto failed miserably. "I'm sorry, Haku-chan. I just didn't want you to worry. I swear," he said. "Sorry. You're sorry. Sorry doesn't cut it, Naruto," Haku exclaimed as she began to get to her feet. Naruto said, Where are you going, Haku-chan? Haku vanished into the early morning darkness, saying, I need some time to myself, Naruto. I'll talk to you after my portion of the exams are done. Tragically, Naruto thought to himself, I just got her, why does it feel like I've already lost her? Don't worry, Naruto-kun, she's just upset. Can you imagine how you would feel if she withheld such information from you? Kyuubi inquired in his mind. Naruto thought, I don't know, I would be upset I guess, but then he realized, shit, I really messed up Big Hakura-chan. Indeed, you did, but don't assume that your relationship with Haku is over. She's just upset and will change her mind. As Naruto began to leave, Kyuubi remarked, now I think you have spent enough time up here moping around, time to get ready for your day, brat. He didn't realize that Haku was hiding behind a tree just a few feet away, and he turned back to get one last look at the sunrise. As she turned to go, she thought, I'm sorry, Naruto-kun, but you have to realize that I'm here for you, that everyone is. After a few hours, Academy Anko said, Psst, Whiskers, you there? Come in, Whiskers, over his earpiece, and Naruto heard it. Naruto questioned, why'd I have to be Whiskers? Sorry, Whiskers, you're breaking up, I didn't hear what you said, over. Sigh. I said, why'd I have to be Whiskers, over? There we go, I can hear you now, Whiskers, and because I said so, now then, are you ready? Over. I can't believe you are actually making me do this, over. Ah, come on, brat, live a little, over. I'd prefer to live a lot, actually, over. Well, I guess you should try to not hang out with me as much as possible, over. With his hands making writing motions, Naruto said, I'll make sure to put that in my notebook, don't hang out with crazy snake lady. Anko couldn't see him. The classroom itself. Ibiki had just finished explaining what it meant to be a chunin when he noticed two tiny balls hurtling toward the window at a high speed. Oh no, Anko, you're late once more, what's going on? 2. Oh no. As the two balls smashed through the window, filling the front of the classroom with smoke, Ibiki pondered. A huge poster that read, Super Sexy Proctor Anko Madarashi, and Semi-Sexy Proctor Whiskers, was suspended from the ceiling once the smoke had cleared, followed by the words, I'm not a pedo, I'm just staking my claim to Whiskers. If you have any problems with that, please write it on a piece of poison ivy and shove it up your ass, hee. In small print at the bottom. Ibiki was the only one who wasn't sufficiently stunned to miss the fine print, so he started to perspire. Looking out over the classroom, Naruto smirked and said, Anko-san, I think we broke them all. His grin faltered a little when he noticed Haku glaring at Anko from the back. When Naruto turned to face Anko, he was perplexed by the sign, especially what it said about him and at the bottom, which caused him to swallow a little. Kyuubi chuckled to himself as Naruto frowned and thought, oh man, this has to be the worst first day of dating ever. After shouting, listen up, brats. My name is Anko Madarashi, and this strapping young blonde lad is Whiskers, also known as Naruto, and we are the proctors for the second part of the chunin exams. Anko noticed that many teams were still present in the class. As she vanished in a cloud of smoke, Anko remarked, hey brats, looks like we are going with your idea. Tell your clones to set the traps, then get these genins moving. Damn it, why does it have to be me? This was your job first. Fuck it, get your sorry asses to training ground 44, you have 15 minutes, anyone who is not there in that time gets their team disqualified. Naruto screamed as he jumped from the 10 minutes later, the Death Forest. As he reached the agreed upon meeting spot, Anko said, so Naruto, are your traps all set up? Yay, the last of them just dispelled, all the traps are rigged and ready to go, replied Naruto. Alright, do you want to explain the rules of the second exam to them or should I? Replied Anko. Naruto smirked as he sat down with his back against a tree and said, well, apparently as this was technically your job first, and the fact that you left me behind at the academy to talk to them, I'll let you handle this one. Sakura shouted as Team 7 stepped into the clearing, what was the big idea, Naruto Baka, giving us 15 minutes to get here? Sakura, if you couldn't make it from the academy to here in less than 15 minutes you wouldn't have what it takes to be a chunin, and your whole team would have been disqualified because you lack the motivation to train properly, Naruto replied. Sakura responded smugly, MHMPH, whatever Baka. I bet this test is way harder than the one you got. When Naruto realized that the other teams were gradually beginning to arrive, he got up and walked back over to Anko. Hey, well, you're willing to take the test if you want, I mean, getting tested by one A-rank missing nin, AS-rank missing nin, and the Hokage himself is nothing at all compared to what I have planned for you guys. As Team 8 arrived, Kiba boasted, hey, look at that, big bad Namikaze Naruto can't even handle the chunin exam and has to help out, see Hinata. I'm way better than that loser. However, he was stopped in his tracks when a kunai flying past his face cut his cheek slightly. As she emerged behind him, licking the blood from his cheek before spitting it out, Anko remarked, My little genin, you should learn to respect your superiors. Wait, Chan? Anko said, your blood is disgusting. Whisker Chan's is way better. Anko is just 12 years old, what the fuck? Kiba shivered a little at Anko's touch and answered, I never disrespected you, Proctor-san. I only made fun of Naruto. Anko smirked and retreated behind Naruto, saying, I know that. So, you still want me to? Or should you instill fear into these young minds? She asked in jest, causing Naruto to roll his eyes. Naruto stepped forward and remarked, You have a great way of talking your way out of shit, Anko-san. Naruto winked at Hinata and smirked at Kiba, causing a low growl and a slight flush. Alright, genin, I am Chunin Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, and I, with the help of Anko, came up with the second portion of the Chunin exams. The majority of the genin present gulped as Naruto explained, I designed this portion of the exam to follow up on the first part, information gathering. In this forest are 10 scrolls, each are guarded by an array of traps that I laid myself. This caused the genin to reconsider entering, Naruto explained, making the genin perspire once more. This test is mainly designed to test your skill at gathering information from heavily guarded zones, while making it back to the extraction point, aka the giant tower in the middle, while having to keep an eye out for enemy shinobi. The reason that there are only 10 scrolls is because there are too many of you to pass to the next round. We had to come up with a test that would effectively reduce your numbers, if not cut them in half. Naruto created a few shadow clones to distribute the forms, saying, Before entering, I need you all to sign these waivers stating that should death occur, Konoha will not be held responsible. Sakura made the majority of the genin around her perspire when she asked, What could be in that forest that could possibly kill us? Sakura and several other genin turned pale as Naruto grinned and said, You mean aside from other shinobi, giant tigers, blood-sucking leeches, and various other large and dangerous animals, right? But I don't want to ruin it for everyone. You will just have to find out for yourself. The forms were sent to various gates located throughout the forest once all of the genin had signed them. Naruto quickly pulled Hinata aside, receiving a dumb nod from a very red-faced girl, Hina-chan. Before you leave, I just want to say be careful. I wouldn't want you getting hurt because of a test that I developed. Remember the wave mission and what I taught you, all right? I'm not supposed to do this, but if you pass this test I'll take you on a date and do whatever you want. What the devil, once more, asked Anko, what was that about Whisker-chan? Naruto emphasized the chan suffix when he said, just a little incentive to pass the second part of the test, nothing to worry about, Anko-chan. Naruto clarified, begin. As all the gates opened and the genin rushed into the forest, okay everyone, you have a total of 5 days to make it to the tower in the center of the forest. If all the scrolls are collected before the 5 days are up, we will send in teams of Junin, Anbu to get the remaining teams. From there you can either decide to stay and watch the tournament final or go back to your respective villages. Naruto and Anko were confronted by a group of Anbu 30 minutes after the genin had entered the forest. Anko-san, Namikaze-sama, we found something that you have to take a look at, the Anbu responded. As if in response to Anko's whining, shouts and screams erupted from the forest. I haven't even heard anyone scream yet. With a sudden change in mood, Anko said, okay, that's better, lead the way. Naruto and the Anbu both started to perspire before they all vanished in a shunshin and reappeared a few kilometers away. Both Anko's and Naruto's eyes widened as the Anbu pointed to 3 disfigured figures in the grass with their faces missing, saying, that is what you need to see. They both exclaimed, oh shit, simultaneously. What is it? Inquired the Anbu. Get word to the Hokage immediately. Tell him to recall Itachi-sensei and Zabuza-sensei. An SS-ranked criminal has slipped into Konoha and is in the Chunin exams. Naruto commanded. Naruto and Anko were left alone in the clearing as the Anbu bowed and departed via shunshin after noticing the urgency in the young Namikaze's voice. After all these years, he is finally back, and just as I had hoped that I could get rid of this mark, it's like he is taunting me, Anko said with a low tone. Anko-chan, I promise if I can remove that mark one will. Whether he is here or not is not the issue right now, it's what I believe he is after, Naruto clarified. What do you mean, Naruto? What could he possibly want in Konoha? Replied Anko. The Sharingan, Itachi-sensei once told me that Orochimaru tried to take over his body when they were sent alone on a mission. Orochimaru is power-hungry, he wants to learn every jutsu in existence, and the best way for him to do that would be having the Sharingan. But because he is not Uchiha, He was not born with it, he developed a jutsu that allows him to leave his body and take over someone else's for up to 3 years. In essence, he has found a way to become immortal, Naruto said, causing Enko to gasp. Enko understood her former teacher's purpose and remarked, Sasuke, that's what he is after. Yes, basically, Itachi was too strong-willed for Orochimaru to take over when he tried. But Sasuke is like Orochimaru in the sense that they both long for power. If Orochimaru was to offer him power, or say, put a curse seal on Sasuke, Sasuke would most likely leave the village in an attempt to find Orochimaru. Naruto continued, causing Enko to nod her head. Enko stated that, we have to find him then, yes, but I am not strong enough to fight him for that long. I need you to find and stall him until Anbu arrive, or another Junin. I will search for Sasuke. If he has already received the curse mark, one can do my best to seal the evil chakra away, but my guess is that it will be a more advanced version than yours. Naruto replied as he was about to enter the forest. As Enko started to move in the opposite direction, she said, be safe, Naruto-kun, I'll do my best to stall Orochimaru. The following day Naruto had been searching for Sasuke and Team 7 with little to no success. It was extremely difficult to follow them because as soon as he thought he had located their trail, it would split off or end in different directions. At least they are able to avoid detection a few kilometers to the north. Naruto felt a spike of vile chakra, which caused him to pause abruptly. The curse mark is that. I must hurry. Naruto accelerated his pace and pondered. A few minutes later, Naruto arrived at a clearing where he saw teams 10, 8, and 7 staring anxiously at Sasuke while he battled a genin from a village he had never heard of. What do you think, Kura-chan? This feeling isn't the same as Enko-chan's, Naruto inquired. Be careful, Naruto-kun, I believe you were correct when you said that this curse mark would lead to more advancements. Enko's must have just been a test run for something similar. In all the years I have lived on this planet, I have only ever felt chakra this evil a few times. Let me help if he attacks you. Without his curse mark, Sasuke couldn't compete with you. However, the mark functions similarly to my chakra, so I might be able to inject tiny amounts of Yukai, demon chakra, into the seal to stop the flow long enough for you to seal it off. Just get rid of that jerk if that doesn't work, Kurama said. Just as Naruto was about to watch Sasuke break both the arms of the genin he was fighting and turn to face a girl he could tell was unconscious, he said, I personally like your second idea better, but I'll ask for help if it comes down to a fight. I promise, Kura-chan. Naruto was about to step in, but he saw that Sasuke had stopped. Damn it, Sasuke, if you are going to do what I think you are going to, I'll be forced to step in, even if it's the Chunin exams. I can't let this happen. Naruto thought, oh, I'm glad I didn't have to wait. As Sasuke turned to face the tree he was standing in, Naruto pondered. The others thought Sasuke had finally gone insane when he yelled, I know you are there, Dobi. Get down here and let me show you what true power feels like. But Naruto appeared between them and Sasuke. Naruto-kun, exclaimed Hinata. Stay back, Hinata-chan. Same goes for the rest of you. Sasuke, calm down. I'm not here to fight you. I need to put a restraining seal on your neck till I can figure out if I can remove that mark or not, Naruto yelled. Why? Why would I want this power sealed off? Now I can finally kill you, that bastard Itachi, and your stupid ice bitch. Sasuke replied. Sasuke started making hand signals, and Naruto tried to reason with him, but it was ignored. That power is false, Sasuke. You have to fight it. Don't make me fight you. It will not end well, Naruto said. Screaming, Kaden. Grande Fireball Jutsu. Sasuke launched a black fireball in Naruto's direction. Naruto screamed, shit, everyone take cover, and started to make hand signals. Naruto shouted, Sweden. Water Wall Jutsu. However, the wall was weak due to the lack of water, and the black fire passed through it. It exploded upon impact, sending Naruto crashing into a nearby tree. Hinata and Ino shouted, Naruto-kun, as they attempted to run forward to help the blonde, but their teammates stopped them. Shikamaru and Kiba held back their respective teammates before they sensed a huge spike of evil chakra emanating from Naruto's location. Stop, Hinata. Ino. You can't help him. We need to get out of here. Naruto emerged from the bush with a single tail flowing behind him and a red cloak of chakra around his body. Sasuke, I didn't want to have to do this to you because Itachi-sensei thinks that somehow you can be saved, but I have to stop this before it gets out of hand and people die. Sakura stumbled out, terrified by the power of the two individuals in front of her. What kind of sea chakra is that? Naruto turned slightly to face the genin, sensing their uneasiness. Naruto looked directly at Hinata and Ino as he said, please, I will not hurt you guys. I'm here because Sasuke has been infected by what is called a curse mark. I can't go into too much detail right now, but there is a time and place that I will explain everything. I promise. Sasuke, stop this now. If you force me to fight you, I will not hesitate to kill you if I have to keep those precious to me safe. As he charged Naruto, Sasuke yelled, "Shut up and fight, Dobi. This power you have is no match for me, I'm an elite." An Uchiha. With a sigh, Naruto pulled out his swords, ready to face anything the Uchiha might throw at him. Kura-chan, I may need 2 tails to make me fast enough that he won't be able to read my movements now that Sasuke has his Sharingan. I don't want to drag this out any longer than absolutely necessary. However, a second chakra tail appeared behind Naruto, and he could sense more of Kyuubi's Yukai coursing through his chakra coils. Sakura shouted, "Hey, another one. What is he?" "I don't know, but I know that is Naruto-kun," said Hinata. As Sasuke drew closer, Naruto maintained his defensive posture and kicked him quickly in the head when Naruto used his hand to block it. His eyes widened a little. Sasuke continued, flipping in midair in the hopes of landing his heel on the back of Naruto's head, but was taken aback once more when Naruto merely stepped aside. Naruto snatched Sasuke's leg and slammed him into the ground, leaving a tiny dent in the ground. "Is this all you've got, Sasuke?" he cried. Sasuke stood on wobbly legs and resumed his hand signs. Sasuke screamed, "Kaden! Phoenix Flower Jutsu!" as several tiny fireballs blasted toward Naruto from his mouth. "Damn it, Sasuke! Are you trying to kill the others?" Naruto screamed as he blocked the fire missiles with a wall of earth. "It's their own fault if they get in the way," Sasuke screamed as he charged Naruto to start a taijutsu duel. Weary of games and unwilling to involve the others, Naruto launched an offensive, matching Sasuke punch for punch and kick for kick while he waited for the ideal opportunity to counter. Shortly after, Naruto grabbed Sasuke's arm and raised his free hand, smashing Sasuke's shoulder joint as he dislocated it. Sasuke's frustration was beginning to impair his judgment, leaving tiny gaps, but that was all he needed. Sasuke cried out in agony, "Ah!" But Naruto didn't stop there. He smashed Dragon's Bane's pommel into Sasuke's back, causing him to scream in agony once more. As Naruto waited for Sasuke to stand up again, he yelled, "Get up, Uchiha! Show me this power that you were talking about," as he ran at Sasuke again, not giving him much time to recover from Naruto's last beating. Naruto thought, "Okay, Kura-chan, I want you to push a little of your Yukai into Sasuke each time I hit him. Try and reverse the effects of the curse seal long enough for me to temporarily seal it." Every time Naruto hit Sasuke, he could feel the Yukai leaving his body. He could tell it was working because Sasuke was becoming slower and the curse mark was beginning to fade a little. "A bit more, Kura-chan, please," as he launched another barrage of punches and kicks at Sasuke, who was doing his best to block. Naruto pondered. After pushing as much Yukai into his hand as he believed Sasuke could withstand without dying, Naruto punched him in the stomach, lifting him a little off the ground. Still a little concerned that the influence of the mark might still be there, Naruto began to disperse his chakra cloak as he noticed that the curse mark was beginning to fade. However, he soon discovered that Sasuke had been knocked unconscious. After confirming that everyone was okay and assuring Ino and Hinata that he was okay, Naruto turned to Sakura and requested an explanation. He sighed with relief as he called the others out to him. "I'm not sure. One minute we were looking for a scroll, and then we were all separated by a large gust of wind. When I found Sasuke, he was fighting a ninja from Grass Village, but it wasn't a regular genin. He said his name was Orochimaru before he bit Sasuke on the neck, leaving that mark," Sakura replied. Naruto questioned, "Did he say what he wanted?" "No, he just said that Sasuke would search him out for power." "Naruto, what's going on?" replied Sakura. "Orochimaru is an SS-class criminal from Konoha. He is also one of the 3 Sannin. In the past, he tried to take over Sasuke's older brother's body so that he would have the Sharingan so he could copy every jutsu in the world, but he failed, and is now after Sasuke because he is weaker than his brother Itachi." Naruto clarified. Naruto turned back to Sasuke and said, "I have to put a temporary seal on Sasuke, but I have someone else I have to help. Before that I will look at it later to see if I can remove it." While the others watched, mesmerized by the graceful lines Naruto was creating with his pen, Naruto rolled Sasuke over and pulled out a pen and ink, beginning to draw a seal on Sasuke's neck. When Naruto screamed, "Fuinjutsu! Fuja Huan! Evil sealing method!" Sasuke's neck's black ink glowed brightly for a few seconds before the light vanished, leaving a mark on the back of his neck that resembled a tattoo. Intrigued by what Naruto had just done, Hinata questioned, "Naruto-kun, what was that?" It made her think of the seal her family had used. Naruto turned to the 3 genin that Sasuke had been fighting earlier and explained, It was a fuinjutsu designed by my sensei, Jiraiya of the Sannin. To counteract seals like Orochimaru's curse seal, it is only temporary. During the break between now and the third parts of the exams, I will take a look at Sasuke's mark and see if I can permanently remove it. Naruto said, "Now then, who are you guys?" When the genin was completely covered in bandages, he said, "Please, we cannot beat you, let us leave." Naruto, these three are working for Orochimaru. They said they were sent to kill Sasuke, Sakura responded. Naruto looked at the girl and saw something in her eyes that made him think of the times he spent alone. "I see. I cannot let you go free then. You three will be coming with me." Naruto reflected. She is just like me. She might be the easiest to get information out of. The girl began to move forward, but her teammate stopped her with a slap on the back of her head, causing her to fall to the ground. The mother screamed, "Kin, you stupid bitch, what are you doing?" Naruto narrowed his eyes at Kin's treatment by her own team when she said, "Dosu, I don't want to be a tool for Orochimaru anymore. He sent us here knowing that Sasuke had the curse mark. I don't want a leader who sends his own people to their deaths." As he began to approach Dosu and the other one, Naruto remarked, "Actually, it turns out that I only need one of you, the girl will be good enough." "Dosu, what do? We can't fight him in the condition we are in now, and we don't have time to knock Kin out and take her with us." Before they retreated from the clearing and left Kin alone, Dose said to the now identified Zaku, "Fuck, you were right. Zaku, we are leaving, we will deal with Kin later." Please don't hurt me, I'll tell you whatever you want to know," she begged. With a warm smile, Naruto explained, "I was never going to hurt you. I used to be just like you. I was alone at one point as well, but then I found people who cared about me for who I was, and if you give us information on what Orochimaru wants, I could keep you here under my clan's protection. You won't have to go back to him." A little dubious of the blonde's offer, Kin questioned, Really? Why you would do that F for me?" As he extended his hand to assist the girl in standing up, Naruto said, "Of course, everyone deserves a second chance at life. I'm offering you yours." The girl initially resisted, but eventually accepted his hand and allowed him to assist her. She said, "Okay, I'll help you." Before vanishing in a shunshin, leaving the three teams alone in the clearing, Naruto said, "Thank you. I promise that you will be safe as long as you are with me. Now then, we need to leave and talk to the Hokage. I'm sorry Hinata-chan for what you saw earlier, I'll explain it to you later, I promise." Naruto felt another spike that caused his eyes to widen, and Kin felt another large release of vile chakra shortly after they had left the clearings where teams 8, 7, and 10 were the chakra of Anko-san. Naruto thought, "This isn't good, she must have found Orochimaru." "Kin, I need you to get to the tower, tell them that I'm going to help Anko fight Orochimaru and to send Anbu in the direction of that chakra spike we just felt," Naruto replied. Kin began, but was interrupted. Naruto vanished, leaving Kin alone in the middle of the forest. "Please. I have to go help Anko. Even if I can't match up to Orochimaru's skills, I might be able to fend him off long enough for Anbu or Hokage Gigi to arrive." When Naruto got there, he saw Orochimaru drop an unconscious Anko to the ground. "Goddamn it, Anko-chan. Please be okay." As he reviewed the hand signs, Naruto pondered. As he launched a massive fireball into the tree where Orochimaru was, Naruto exclaimed, "Kaden! Grande Fireball Jutsu!" and swiftly shunshined to Anko to check on her, sensing a pulse. Naruto let out a sigh of relief before vanishing once more to protect Anko. Before Naruto felt excruciating pain in his side as Orochimaru kicked him away, he heard from behind him, "Kukuku, what a surprise, the little Kyuubi Jinchuriki has come to play. I had heard that the son of the fourth was back in Konoha, but I didn't think I would actually run into you." Naruto said, "Damn, that hurt." As he got up off the ground, "I will have to borrow some of your yukai once more, Kura-chan." "Naturally, Naruto-kun. You should exercise caution because this man is unlike any other person you have ever faced." As she began to release her yukai into Naruto's chakra system, Kyuubi said. Naruto said, "You hurt Anko. I will end your life," as he disappeared, causing Orochimaru to widen his eyes a little at the young boy's speed before he was flung backwards by the kick Naruto gave him in the stomach. Orochimaru stood up and remarked, "Kukuku, Naruto-kun. It seems that Itachi-san and Jiraiya-san have taught you well, but it won't be enough to kill me." After extinguishing Foxfire, Naruto began to channel his Kaden chakra through the blade, causing it to glow a little. Orochimaru opened his mouth to reveal his own sword and charged at Naruto, saying, "Interesting, let's see how good you are with that sword, Naruto-kun." He was shocked to see Naruto's sword slicing straight through his, and he felt pain as Naruto stabbed Orochimaru in the stomach with his fiery blade. Naruto twisted the sword in Orochimaru's stomach, causing the snake Sannin to hiss in agony. Even though I am only a chunin, Orochimaru, I have been trained in Kenjutsu by both Itachi-sensei and Zabuza-sensei. A former member of the Seven Swordsmen of the Mist, I would advise you take out the real Kusanagi. Normal swords will not work against me. Orochimaru opened his mouth once more, exposing 2 hands as he crawled out of his injured body. Cuckoo, it seems that I have underestimated you, Naruto-kun. You should have killed me when you had the chance, because now, I will show you the true difference in our power. He opened his mouth again and hurled Kusanagi at the young blonde, saying, even with the Kyuubi's power you do not have the experience to beat me. After dodging the blade, Naruto was struck in the face by Orochimaru's fist, which sent him hurtling back through a few trees. Naruto heard Orochimaru yell, Kaden, Grande Fireball Jutsu. As he looked up, his eyes widened slightly at the size of the fireball that Orochimaru had thrown at him. Naruto hurriedly stood up and retreated a safe distance with a shunshin. Naruto heard, to slow, Naruto-kun. He then experienced excruciating abdominal pain. Naruto's eyes widened as he noticed half of Kusanagi sticking out of his stomach. Orochimaru kicked Naruto in the back, sending him flying off his sword and into a nearby tree, while grinning sickly blood flew from Naruto's mouth as he landed with a crack. Naruto-kun. Even with Naruto's fast healing ability from having her sealed inside him, Kyuubi screamed. She couldn't heal him from the wound Kusanagi had caused him. As Naruto got up off the ground and stood on wobbly feet, Orochimaru remarked, My, Naruto-kun, you sure do surprise me. Why do you keep fighting if you know you can't beat me, Naruto-kun? He said. As a group of masked shinobi materialized behind Orochimaru, Naruto grinned and remarked, I knew I wouldn't be able to beat you, Teme. I just needed to stall for long enough for Hokage Jiji and the Anbu to get here. As he melted into the earth, Orochimaru remarked, well, it appears that we will have to finish this another time, Naruto-kun. If you survive, that is Kukuku. A recognizable female voice called out, Naruto-kun, as Naruto looked around. Naruto utters the words, Haku-chan, just before the world goes dark and he falls to the ground. Konoha Hospital. After 5 days, Hinata was anxious. No, she was extremely anxious when her team passed the second section of the Chunin exams. She was informed first that Orochimaru had infiltrated Konoha, engaged Naruto in combat, and gravely injured him. As Hinata entered the hospital, with Kiba trailing behind her and Kurenai and Shino close behind, she frantically asked, please, can you tell me what room Naruto Namikaze is in? The nurse turned around and saw that Hinata and Kurenai had already left. Namikaze. Oh. Here it is, room 325, 3rd floor at the end of the hall. In the room of Naruto, Haku was currently experiencing a wide range of emotions, including fear, rage, happiness, sadness, and most importantly, self-disappointment. Naruto was lying 2 feet away from her, with bandages covering the entire top half of his body where Orochimaru had stabbed him. Her final action with him had been to fight him and then leave. Holding his hand, Haku said solemnly, damn it, Naruto, why do you always have to be so reckless? After all this time we finally got each other. You better not die on me, Naruto. Please come back to me. Inside the head of Naruto, Kyuubi glared at Naruto, who was fidgeting under her stare. You goddamn stupid reckless idiot boy. How could you try to fight with a Sannin and hope to possibly not get seriously hurt? You are so lucky you were okay. I swear that Haku girl would have frozen hell over to revive your sorry ass just so she could kill you herself, Kyuubi said. In the hopes that it would be the correct response, Naruto said, well, you see, I never thought I could win. Boy, was he mistaken. Naruto gulped as Kyuubi asked sweetly, care to repeat that, kun? As Naruto pointed behind Kyuubi and exclaimed, hey look, a squirrel, she developed a tick mark. Kyuubi remarked irritably, I'm a 2,000-year-old demon. Do you really think that would work on me? Naruto attempted to be flattering when he said, worth a shot I guess, but I must admit Kura-chan, you look very good for being 2,000 years old. Kyuubi said, goddamn it, Naruto, why is it so hard to stay mad at you? Her eyes softened a little before Naruto could finish his shrewd comment. She added, rhetorical question, so don't answer it if you want to live. Kyuubi said, listen, Naruto, I know you fought Orochimaru so that you could save that girl Anko, but please just be careful next time. Wounds like the one Kusanagi gives you are very hard to heal. Most of the time they never go away completely. There are too many people who care about you and would be devastated if anything seriously bad ever happened to you. Haku, Hinata, Hokage Jiji, Itachi-san, Zabuza-san, me. Kyuubi's words caused Naruto's eyes to widen slightly. They would constantly flirt. but Naruto was unaware of the true motivations. Naruto said, "Why you would? Kura-chan, Naruto, I've been with you your entire life, through all the sadness, loneliness, and happiness. Anything you have felt I have felt. When we first met, I was so afraid that you would hate me for what I did to not only your village, but to your mother and father as well." Kyuubi replied, "When you were willing to forgive me and move on, it was the happiest I have been since I was sealed inside of you. You accepted me for what I was, even with all the pain I had caused you, and welcomed me into your life. I've watched you grow since that day, Naruto-kun. From meeting Itachi-san and Zabuza-san, to saving Haku-chan's life, you have grown up to be an excellent man that your parents would be proud of, and someone I could fall in love with someday." Stuttering, Naruto said, "Love me? Yes, Naruto-kun. Maybe not right now because of this seal, but if you find a way to release me, I want a chance to prove how much you mean to me," Kyuubi responded. "Kura-chan, I never knew that you felt that way about me. You have always been there for me, as someone I could confide in when no one else would. You kept me alive through all the beatings and torture when I was a child. I'm not mad about having you sealed inside of me. When Hokage Jiji first told me who my father was, I was more mad at him for what he did to me than you, but I came to realize that if he had not sealed you inside of me, I would not be who I was today. Kura-chan, I do not know if one day I could come to return the feelings that you have for me, but I would be willing to try. I think that, by using shadow clones, I might be able to give you a temporary body. We would be able to go on dates and do things together," Naruto said with a smile, making Kyuubi widen her eyes. She asked a little hesitantly, "Why you mean it?" "Because it seemed too good to be true." "Yay, I mean, a shadow clone is basically a carbon copy of myself with my conscious put into it, so theoretically, if I was to put your conscious into the clone instead of mine, then it would be you instead of me," Naruto clarified after a minute of contemplation. Kyuubi's eyes widened in realization. "And Naruto, that's it," exclaimed Kyuubi. "What do you mean, Kura-chan?" a bewildered Naruto questioned. She grabbed Naruto and embraced him fiercely, saying, "Naruto, if what you said works, if you were able to make a complete clone of yourself, one that would never disperse, and put my conscious and soul into it, I would be free." Before either of them could realize what was happening, Kyuubi kissed him, causing both of their eyes to widen so soft, they both thought simultaneously, and then they reluctantly parted ways. There was a brief period of silence, and Kyuubi began to feel guilty because she believed she had done something wrong. As Naruto's face filled with grief, Kyuubi sputtered out, regretting what she had said instantly, "Naruto-kun, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have, it just happened." Naruto questioned, "Why you didn't like it, Kura-san?" Seeing the sorrow on his face and hearing it in his words, it seemed as though Kyuubi's heart had broken in that instant. "And no, that's not what I meant, Naruto-kun. When you were silent like that, I thought you were upset with me for kissing you. I thought that you were upset for me being your first kiss, instead of Haku," Kyuubi said, causing Naruto's eyes to widen. Naruto chuckled and Kyuubi smiled a little as he said, "I wasn't upset, Kura-chan. I was just surprised. That was one of the best feelings I have ever felt. I'm not mad at you. But I guess now we really have to go on a few dates, huh?" "Yay, I guess we will, Naruto-kun. But I think it's time for you to wake up. I can sense Haku-chan, Hinata-chan, and that red-eyed woman that you went on that mission to wave with, along with I think Kin-san." Naruto blushed slightly and said, "Okay, Kura-san, but please don't feel bad about what happened. I really did enjoy it." He then quickly kissed her on the lips to demonstrate his point before vanishing back into reality, leaving a slightly flushed Kyuubi in his wake. "I've been the queen of the tailed beasts for 2,000 years, and now a 12-year-old is turning me into fox putty. Well, Kyuubi decided it was worth it." Naruto's hospital room in the real world as Kurenai attempted to reassure both girls, she said, "Haku-chan, Hinata-chan, I'm sure Naruto-kun will be alright." Hinata stammered, but what if he isn't?" Though still saddened by what had happened to Naruto, Haku said, "He will be. Tsunade of the Sannin was the one who healed him. She is the closest thing Naruto has to a real family, and when she heard he was severely hurt, she came back as fast as she could to help him." Naruto opened his eyes and said feebly, "Tsunade Bakan is here?" Haku exclaimed, "Yay, Tsunade Baka, wait, Naruto-kun," just before she gave him a firm embrace. Haku widened her eyes before releasing him, but a second after she retreated, Hinata glomped him. Naruto said, "CC can't be breath, Haku-chan." As Hinata buried her head in his chest and exclaimed, "Naruto-kun." The other girls gave her a mildly envious look. He smiled a little as Hinata started sobbing openly into his chest after saying, We thought you wouldn't make it." Both Kurenai and Kin raised their eyebrows at the loving suffix added to their names when Naruto said, "Hey. Sorry Hinata-chan. Kurenai-chan. Haku-chan. Kin-chan. I just needed to make sure that Enko-chan was safe." At the same time, Kurenai-chan and Kin-chan thought, "I could get used to that." "En Naruto-kun," Haku responded, "I'm sorry. For what happened a few days ago, I was just upset that you would keep something so important from me. You were always alone before, but now, you aren't anymore. You have all of us. I'm sorry for running away and yelling at you." "Haku-chan, what you said and did really hurt me. It made me feel even more insecure and alone. Please, doesn't ever leave me like that again." Naruto replied. It was Haku's turn to cry now, and she clung to one of his arms while apologizing repeatedly as he tried to calm them by giving each girl a gentle back rub. Naruto grinned at the love they both showed for him. Although Haku and Hinata were aware that she had added the letter, kun, to Naruto-kun's name, Kurenai said, "I'm sorry to interrupt your moment, but Hokage-sama wanted to see you as soon as you woke up, Naruto-kun." As he got out of bed, Naruto sighed and said, "All right. I guess I will need to talk to him about Orochimaru and what happened with Sasuke." He was unaware that his gown had opened up, revealing his bare chest, which caused all of the girls in the room to blush a little. Kiba growled again as Naruto kissed the hands of Hinata and Haku and said, "Goodbye Hinata-chan. Haku-chan. Kin-chan. And Kurenai-chan." Naruto smirked and shushed away, saying, "Didn't see you there, dog breath. Not that it really matters. It's a crime to attack your superiors." After a lengthy conversation with the Sandaime and to check on Enko's well-being, Naruto leaves the Hokage's office a few hours later. Naruto thought to himself, what to do? Then he recalled a comment he had made to Hinata prior to the second section of the Chunin exams, which caused him to grin a little as he began to move toward the clan district. After a few minutes, Naruto is seen knocking on the front door of the Hyuga clan house. One of the guards questioned, "What business do you have with the Hyuga clan boy?" Naruto answered, "I would like to request an audience with Hiyashi-sama." The guard repeated, "All right, what is your name?" Naruto said, "Naruto Namikaze." The guard came back after a few minutes of waiting. As he opened the gate and ushered Naruto inside, the guard declared, "Hiyashi-sama has accepted your request to see him." Naruto bowed as he entered Hiyashi's private study and said, "Hiyashi-sama." Hiyashi's question, "To what do I owe this pleasure, Namikaze-sama?" startled Naruto a little because he had assumed the man in front of him was like most Hyuga, with a 10-foot pole thrust straight up his ass, based on everything he had heard about him. Hiyashi nodded when Naruto said, "Please, Hiyashi-sama, just Naruto. I do not wish to be shown respect just because of who my father was." "All right, Naruto, why did you request to have an audience with me?" Hiyashi responded. "Well, before the second part of the Chunin exams I made your daughter a promise, and I'm here to make sure I can keep it. I would like to request that you allow me to take Hinata-chan on a date," Naruto replied. Hiyashi questioned, "Why would you need my permission, Naruto?" "Please, Hiyashi-sama, while I may still be young, I have read up on clan laws from Konoha. I do not believe that you, or your elders, would approve of me taking Hinata-chan out on a date before clearing it with the clan head," Naruto replied. Naruto's eyes widened slightly as Hiyashi smiled and said, That is true, and while I may not have been the best father to Hinata, I have always wanted nothing more than for her to be happy. I'm really surprised it has actually taken you this long to ask her for a date." "Why is that?" inquired Naruto. "Naruto, your father was one of my best friends. Before Hinata's mother passed away, I noticed how close the two of you had become. Neither of you could see it, but I believe Hinata has always had a crush on you since the day that you met. The day that you left was probably the second saddest day in Hinata's life. I tried my best as a father to comfort her, but the clan elders made me put my clan ahead of my own daughters. The reason I had pushed Hinata so hard during her training sessions was the hope that she would push the pain from losing you away for a while at least so she could focus on something else, but it never worked. And now she sees me more as a clan head than as a father. I knew that you had returned the day Hinata came home with the biggest smile I had seen on her in years. I have not always been the best father, Naruto, but I know what is right for my daughter, so my answer is yes. You have my permission to take Hinata out on a date, and pursue any kind of relationship with her as a clan head. I am happy that maybe someday, we will have a very powerful ally, but as a father, I cannot thank you enough for filling the void that I left in Hinata's heart," Hiyashi said. Naruto said, "Hiyashi-sama, if I may," and received a nod from Hiyashi before continuing. "While I may not agree with your way of trying to keep Hinata's mind off of me, I'm thankful that you at least tried, and if it means anything, I do not believe Hinata sees you as a clan head instead of a father. Deep down she still loves you, and wants the old Hiyashi back. You can give her exactly what she wants. You just have to try, Naruto said as he left the room, leaving Hiyashi alone once more. Your parents would be extremely proud of you, Naruto. Thank you, Hiyashi pondered. Naruto cried out, "Gah, why can't I find anything to wear?" as he searched his closet for a suitable outfit for his upcoming date with Hinata. However, it appeared that all he owned were shinobi outfits, and he didn't want to wear them on a first date. Oh wait, there must be. Damn it. After giving it some thought, Naruto realized he still had some clothing scrolls stored away. Itachi and Zabuza both believed it was a good idea for Naruto, even though ninjas typically don't have a scroll devoted to civilian clothing. As they put it, he would grow up to be a lady killer. Naruto found the scroll he was looking for, unraveled it, and then added a little chakra to make a pile of neatly folded cloths pop out. He thought, even though I thought it was stupid at the time, I'm glad they actually made me do it. Naruto chose to wear a silky long-sleeved dress shirt with a white t-shirt underneath, black slacks, and black dress shoes. After looking through the pile, he then changed and headed back to the Yamanaka flower shop, where he bought a lovely bouquet of multicolored roses, before heading to the Hyuga compound. Being the Hyuga princess had its advantages, so Hinata didn't have the same problems as Naruto finding something to wear. However, that didn't mean she wasn't anxious. Quite the opposite, so when someone knocked on her door, she leapt a little. Behind the door, someone said, "Hinata-sama, Naruto-san is here to see you." After giving the mirror one last look, Hinata followed the branch member out into the courtyard and said, "All right, I'll be right there." As two strong arms encircled her waist and held the bouquet of roses in front of her, a familiar voice said, "Wow, Hina-chan, that dress makes you look even more beautiful than you already are." As Hinata looked at the flowers, she exclaimed, "They are so pretty." She turned to face Naruto, but as she took in all of his features, her mind briefly stopped functioning. Hinata thought of the word, handsome, because the silky shirt complemented his eyes and made them appear even more beautiful than they already were. In addition, the setting sun seemed to give Naruto a light orange and red aura. Naruto was doing the same thing to Hinata as she studied his features. Hinata chose a dark purple sundress with lavender trim to highlight her curves, hair, and, most importantly to Naruto, her eyes, because it was their first date and she didn't want to look too fancy. Naruto thought Hinata's eyes were beautiful. Sure, they were the same as all the other Hyugas, but to Naruto, it was just one of those things he couldn't describe. He also thought Hyuga's eyes looked a little strange most of the time because he hadn't been in the village for as long as some others might have. Naruto said, "I hope you like the flowers, Hina-chan." The girl nodded, but she wasn't yet confident in her own voice. "Why don't you run inside quickly and put those away, and then we can be on our way. I have special plans for tonight." Hinata answered, "Why, yay, of course." She then went back inside to store the flowers and reappeared a short while later. After Hinata nodded in response to Naruto's question, "All good?" he took her hand and escorted her out of the estate for what he hoped would be an amazing evening. Hinata had never worn anything so revealing, so she couldn't help but feel a little self-conscious about herself as she walked the streets. After observing Hinata's shift in demeanor, Naruto made the decision to investigate the cause. "Hey, Hina-chan. What's up? You don't seem as happy anymore," Naruto responded. Sorry, Naruto-kun. I'm just a little self-conscious. I have never worn a dress outside of the estate before. The stairs are kind of getting to me," Hinata replied with shame. Hinata blushed slightly as Naruto said, "Hina-chan, you have nothing to worry about. You are a beautiful young girl and will only get more beautiful as you grow up. The stairs are mainly jealousy anyway." Hinata said, What do you mean?" "Hinata, I don't think you have realized this, but you are one of the most popular girls in our generation. I always hear people talking about how beautiful you are. The jealous looks from the girls are for two reasons, the first being that you are more beautiful than them, and two, because you are with me, while the looks from the boys are jealous because I am with you," Naruto clarified, slightly shivering at his fan as he affectionately referred to them. She developed a playful little smirk and drew herself closer to Naruto after learning that other girls were envious of her because she was with him, making it impossible for them to be apart. Seeing the smirk, Naruto laughed a little and decided to play along with her. He released her hand and put his arm around her waist, drawing her toward him. Naruto teased, My Hina-chan, when did you become so bold?" which caused Hinata to blush a little. Hinata began to pull away from him, but he held her in place and she said, Sorry and Naruto-kun." Naruto leaned closer to Hinata's ear and whispered, "I love the feel of your body against mine," which made her blush and shiver even more. "There is nothing to be sorry about, Hina-chan. I don't mind at all, in fact," he said. "Don't you, Naru-kun?" Always manage to make a girl blush? Kyuubi inquired. Do you have an issue with that, my foxy little vixen? I mean, I am who I am, Naruto answered. And no, but Naruto-kun. I sense that someone might be watching. Naruto nodded his head slightly in agreement as Kyuubi spoke. Naruto looked around and saw Sasuke and Kiba, two of the last people he wanted to see. Hinata gave Naruto a curious look as he asked himself, fuck, why does this always happen when I try to do something fun? Naruto simply gestured to their right, and she felt even more self-conscious upon seeing Kiba and Sasuke. She was pretty sure that Sasuke was gay, so she could deal with him, but Kiba had been making bolder advances lately. When Naruto saw that Hina-chan had changed her attitude once more, he said, Hey, Hina-chan, it's alright. I won't let Mud Boy or Sasuke Teme ruin our night. Just stay close to me and keep walking, alright? The girl nodded and smiled slightly. Naruto's enhanced senses picked up tidbits of Kiba's conversation as he and Sasuke drew closer, and he became a little more aware of what he was hearing. And then that bitch Haku said she was already dating Naruto Teme, so I went to the Hyuga Manor to talk to Hiyashi about taking Hinata on a date. Guess what? Turns out Naruto is taking Hinata out on a date right now too. I doubt she even knows Naruto has a girlfriend, that two-timing son of a bitch. I can't wait to tell Hinata about him. Then she will leave him for me because I told her how Naruto really is. He heard Kiba speak and then heard something that made him breathe deeply. Hey, there they are. Though Hinata giggled a little, she couldn't help but agree with Naruto when he said, damn it, here comes Kiba. Bet he is going to try to play the hero, telling you shit you already know. Hinata was already aware that Haku and Naruto were dating, and they would have been in the near future if they hadn't already. However, she was also aware of the CRA and Naruto's explanation that he would only marry for love, so she was okay with things as long as Naruto was safe. Kiba ran up to them and exclaimed, Hey, Hinata-chan. I have to tell you something about Naruto Teme. Sai. Hinata said, What now, Kiba? Kiba gasped and leaned over in front of Sasuke to catch his breath, which caused Naruto to laugh and Hinata to giggle a little. And Naruto already has a girlfriend. Hey, what the fuck you laughing at, Naruto Teme? Kiba responded. Hinata started laughing when Naruto said, Ha ha ha, it's just that ha ha ha, you look right at home, ha ha ha, bending over in front of ha 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 Sasuke Teme. Kiba and Sasuke glared daggers at Naruto. Kiba turned to Naruto and yelled, Don't you care that the guy you are out with right now already has a girlfriend? How could you even think about two-timing that Haku babe? Guys like you don't deserve girls like her. Really now? Asked Naruto. Is that why you called her a bitch now even 5 minutes ago? What? I never called her that. Kiba defended himself by saying. Kiba perspired a little as Naruto explained. Trust me, Mud Boy, you are not the only one with enhanced senses. I heard everything you said about asking Haku out, to going to see Hiyashi about taking Hinata out. Well, that isn't even important. Haku will leave you for someone better as soon as I tell her that you are cheating on her, Kiba shouted. From behind Naruto, Hinata remarked, Ah, Kiba-san, I don't think she would do that, she already knows. What? How could this be acceptable to her? Easy, Hinata said, breaking her stutter as she defended both Naruto and her new friend Haku. Naruto-kun is subject to special laws because he is the last of his clan, Hinata explained. The CRA permits Naruto-kun to have as many wives as he desires. However, due to his character, Naruto is opposed to arranged marriages and essentially assured the council that he would find his own wives. I have already spoken to Haku, and we have decided to share Naruto-kun as long as he was willing to be with me. Naruto is a better man than you could ever be, Hinata said, drawing a blank look from Kiba and a small smile from Naruto. However, what followed shocked everyone. Peeved. Not like I need that bitch, huh? Smack as Hinata slapped Kiba across the face, leaving a tiny red handprint. Everyone watched in disbelief. Never again refer to Haku-chan as a bitch, Hinata shouted as Kiba turned to face her in disbelief, then raged as he reached for her arm, only to turn up face down in the dirt with Naruto clutching his arm behind him. Snap. With a cry of agony, Kiba said, Ah, as Naruto accidentally tugged his arm too far. Sasuke and Kiba felt shivers down their spines when Naruto said, There are a lot of things I can take, Kiba-teme, but if you ever, and I mean ever, go to strike Hinata, or any other girl, I will do more than break your arm. Why, you jerk? Await my mother's reaction to this, Kiba shouted while clutching his fractured arm. Be my guest, the council is unable to harm me directly, and I'm sure your mother would want to know exactly what you were going to do to Hiyashi-sama and Hina-chan. Come on, Hina-chan. I believe our date has been delayed long enough. You're calling me Mud Boy, Naruto said. Hi. Hinata said, A little startled after witnessing Naruto instantly break Kiba's arm, Naruto saw this and scowled a little. I'm sorry that you had to witness that, Hina-chan, but I was not about to just stand there and watch as he hit you. Only a coward would hit a girl who is unarmed. Naruto spoke softly. Naruto sighed as Hinata remarked, it's not the fact that you did it, I'm glad that you defended me, it's just that you did it without hesitating. Hesitancy gets you killed in our line of work, Hinata, and I want you to remember that for the rest of your life one day, you will find yourself alongside an adversary, and only one of you will survive, Naruto clarified. I won't always be there to protect you like I have been the previous 2 times. Hinata said, Hi, Naruto-kun, and Naruto, when was your first kill? With some hesitation, she asked. We had stopped in the village of the mist to meet up with one of Zabuza-sensei's old friends when someone recognized Haku as an ice user and attempted to attack her. Sigh. I had my first kill when I was 8 years old, a few weeks after I met Haku. Naruto said the man who intended to attack Haku was ultimately killed, though I'm not sure exactly what transpired because everything happened so quickly. I developed pastimes that kept me sane during my travels, but it took me some time to recover from my first kill. Many shinobi do that. Kakashi-sensei is a good example of that. He has likely killed as many people as Itachi or Zabuza during a war, and he reads his books to cope with the pain. As I mentioned before, it's kill or be killed, but it never gets easy, Naruto remarked. Hinata muttered, so young, because she couldn't even fathom what it must have been like for Naruto, who was 8 years old, to murder someone. I have only ever killed or questioned someone when those I cared about were in danger. I do not enjoy killing. Wave was an example of that. I killed all those bandits with ease because Gato wanted to harm you, Haku-chan, Zabuza-sensei, Kakashi-sensei, and Kurenai-sensei. A couple of the bandits attempted to kidnap Tazuna's wife so they could murder her in front of him, which was one of the few times I have ever had to torture someone. Naruto remarked, you never get used to it, all you can do is find a way to cope with it. I killed one of them and then had to interrogate the other. It wasn't pretty, but I got the information I needed to help save all of you in Wave Country. Haku once told me that you are at your strongest when you fight to defend the people you care about. Hinata said, Hi. Let's get our date over with, Hina-chan. Enough of that. As he took Hinata's hand once more and began guiding her to his estate, Naruto joyfully exclaimed. Where, Naruto-kun, are we eating? Hinata inquired. I wanted tonight to be special, Hina-chan, so I prepared food earlier today and have everything set nicely at my estate, Naruto replied. I hope you like it, Hina-chan, Naruto replied. After a few minutes, Naruto and Hinata reached Naruto's clan house. Naruto took down the barrier around the gate, opened it, and ushered Hinata inside. Although the house was not as big as the Hyuga compound, it was still a huge space, especially for just one person. Hinata exclaimed, Naruto-kun, it's huge? Hinata blushed and slapped Naruto on the arm after he said, Hina-chan, that could be taken so many wrong ways, especially how you said it. Well, maybe a little. That's not what I meant, you perv, Hinata said, I just meant it's very large for only one person to be living here. Well, I never feel lonely or anything because Haku-chan also lives here and Zabuza and Itachi-sensei visit when they return to Konoha before we have dinner. I'll give you a tour of the house, okay? Hinata nodded in response to Naruto's question, eager to see more of Naruto's stunning home. Because Naruto's estate was rather large, the tour took just over 30 minutes. Hinata loved the house, especially the garden. It seemed that they both enjoyed gardening after the tour. Naruto led Hinata back to the lake, where she saw a table and chairs arranged with a variety of food and beverages. You did all of this for me, Naruto-kun? Since no one had ever done this for her before, Hinata asked in disbelief. Hey, yay, it took me a while but I think everything turned out perfectly, Naruto replied. Hinata could see more of the food as they approached. There was ramen, naturally, rice balls, dango, different soups, and cinnamon rolls. However, the food wasn't what caught her eye. As they approached the table, she could hear a faint background melody that made her sigh and smile in delight. Tonight was ideal for her. So, what are your thoughts? As he brought out a chair for Hinata and allowed her to take a seat first, Naruto posed the question. Feeling a little bad that Naruto had gone through all of this for her, Hinata clarified, Why, you didn't have to do all of this for me, Naruto-kun. This is too much. There is nothing I could do to show you how much I appreciate you, Hinata, Naruto began, placing 2 fingers under her chin and tilting her head up until their eyes met. You were my first friend, and even though Haku-chan and I started dating first, you have always had a little piece of my heart, and now that we have a chance to be together, I want to make the most of it, see where things go between us, Naruto said, causing Hinata to cry a little but nodding her head. Anyway, let's eat, Naruto said, reverting to his more light-hearted demeanor. Many thanks, Naruto-kun. Naruto was still a little upset about how Hiyashi had treated Hinata, but he hoped that after they spoke, he would try to make amends for how he treated his daughters. Naruto and Hinata enjoyed spending time together, discussing their hobbies and everything that had happened to them since Naruto had left. So, who are you competing against in the finals, Hina-chan? Naruto asked, causing Hinata to become a little tense. Naruto noticed this. Naruto sighed a little as Hinata clarified, I'm fighting Neji. I see. Hina-chan, feel free to ask me for assistance with training despite the fact that I have never engaged in combat with a Hyuga, Naruto clarified. I have been trained to fight most dojutsu, and Itachi-sensei has told me a little about it. Really? A little taken aback that Naruto knew how to fight around the Byakugan, Hinata inquired. Indeed, there are a few methods to counteract the Byakugan's effects, but mastering them takes time. This will not be like training with Kurenai-sensei. Rather, it will be more like how I used to train, so if you decide you want my assistance, I won't be easy on you, Naruto remarked. Hi, Naruto-kun. I'd like that, but first, let me speak with my dad, okay? Hinata inquired, and Naruto nodded. They mostly ate in relative silence after that, with a few brief chats here and there, but Hinata's thoughts kept returning to her conversation with Hiku in Wave. Why did people despise Naruto-kun? She couldn't understand it, and she wanted to ask him, but she was also worried that it would ruin the evening. Naruto explained, anticipating Hinata's question, Hina-chan, I can see that something is bothering you. Please ask me anything you would like. I do not want to keep secrets from you. No, it's fine. I don't want to ruin tonight, Hinata replied. Naruto stated, more as a declaration than a query, you want to know why the villagers do not like me, right? Softly, Hinata said, hi, I do, Naruto said. Hina-chan, what I'm about to tell you might change either how you see the village or how you see me, but I must ask that you keep what I am about to tell you to yourself. It is still a S-class secret in the village. The boisterous, playful Naruto was gone, and in front of her sat the solemn, silent Naruto. She shuddered a little at how quickly he changed his persona. Hinata made Naruto smile by saying, I promise, Naruto-kun, I won't tell anyone. She is speaking the truth, she didn't even falter. After receiving another nod from Hinata, Naruto said, okay, please do not interrupt me until I am finished. Naruto chose to cut right to the chase, saying, the information you learned about my father killing the Kyuubi is untrue. The Kyuubi is essentially a massive mass of chakra, and although it has a soul, it cannot be killed. Knowing this, my father sealed it inside of something rather than killing it. He had to seal the Kyuubi's chakra inside a newborn because it was too great for someone with already formed chakra coils to absorb. He did the only thing he could because, as the village's Hokage, he was unable to ask anyone else to sacrifice their son in order to seal the Kyuubi. Hinata gasped as Naruto explained, he sealed the Kyuubi inside of his own son, me? It all made sense now, and she was startled out of her reverie as Naruto resumed his conversation. But there are also things that no one knows about the Kyuubi, the first being that she is female, and rather attractive for that matter. He said, ignoring Kurama's admission that he was a player, and 2, is that she was being controlled by someone. What is meant by controlled? And how are you aware that she is attractive? Hinata inquired. Do you trust me, Hina-chan? Hinata gave Naruto a small nod in response to his question. Good, then please hold my hand. When Hinata reached out to touch Naruto's hand, she was immediately thrust into an unfamiliar field beyond her recognition. Naruto placed his hand on her shoulder and spun her around, saying, Hina-chan, we are in my thoughts right now. I want you to meet Kyuubi so that you can discover for yourself that she is not a bad person. Then she was confronted by what she considered to be one of the most stunning women she had ever seen. She had long flowing red hair, a very curvy body, and a height that was almost Kurenai-like. She was dressed simply in a red, strapless dress that made her figure stand out. So this is Hinata. Naru-kun has told me a lot about you, little one, Kyuubi replied. Really? Hinata inquired, and Kyuubi nodded. As a tick mark appeared on Naruto's forehead, Hinata giggled slightly as she explained, I'm quite surprised that he took this long to ask you for a date. He has never been very good with women, as much as he likes to flirt with them. Hinata asked vaguely, is everything Naruto-kun said true? Yes, it is true, but there are a few more things that he hasn't told you yet, but those will come in time. Right now they're not that important, Kyuubi responded. Oh, okay, was Hinata's response after what seemed like hours of conversation. Hinata learned more about Naruto's early years and the story of how he and Kyuubi first met. At first, she was a little taken aback by how close the two were, but after some clarification, she didn't think it was all that strange despite her initial skepticism about the demon fox's feelings for Naruto. She soon overcame them as she observed their interactions and thought it was very kind of Naruto to forgive Kyuubi for everything that had happened to him. She smiled a little, knowing that Kyuubi's intentions toward Naruto were sincere. Naruto-kun, there are already people who love you, so you won't ever be alone again. With a nod from Hinata, Naruto said, "Hey, Hina-chan, I think it's time for us to go. You should be heading home soon if you want to talk to Kyuubi again. All you have to do is ask." Then he vanished from his thoughts, leaving Kyuubi to think for herself. As they got closer to the Hyuga compound, Hinata said, "Thank you for tonight, Naruto-kun." "It was no big deal, Hina-chan. I loved spending time with you," replied Naruto. When Hinata smiled, she replied, "Yay." Naruto paused in front of the gate and said, "Hina-chan, I would like to do this again soon. Before the Chunin exam finals, stop by my house tomorrow sometime and let me know what your father said about training with me." Her face flushed as Naruto leaned over and gave her a tender forehead kiss. Naruto left a blushing Hinata outside the Hyuga gates and began to walk home, saying, "Good night, Hinaheim. I got a kiss from him. NN Naruto-kun gave me a kiss. Yeeeep. Fuck. I should refrain from using profanity." As he walked slowly home, Naruto enjoyed the crisp night air and the stunning night sky. From behind, a familiar voice asked, "How was your date, Naru-kun?" as two thin arms encircled his waist. When Naruto turned to see the expression on Haku's face, one that threatened to kill him if he didn't correctly answer her next question, he blushed a little. "It was great, Haku-chan. You know, Naru-kun, our first date was nothing like the one you had with Hinata, and if you don't want her finding out it was actually me who cooked most of the food, I think that we should take a nice vacation somewhere very expensive and romantic in the near future," Haku replied affectionately. Why yes ma'am," was Naruto's stutter. Haku said, "Good boy, now let's go home. I want to cuddle." She walked away, luring Naruto with a slight side-to-side swing of her hips. What is that word that Shikimaru uses all the time? Oh, it's troublesome.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.